We in the studio. We in the studio. We in the studio. We Rob in the studio. In the studio. In the studio. Catch a vibe in the studio. In the studio. We in the studio. We Rob in the studio. In the studio. We in the studio. Catch a vibe. Yeah, I'm in the studio with Rob. I need to make the heat flicker. Izzle on it, only thing can make a Rico beat sicker. So listen and get your wisdom. Gemstones on your head. Hood with the OG like Flintstones, good in bed. Been living a long time and he got something to say. Depending on how you feeling, dog, you might got something to pray. This type of influence that he ain't gotta filter through your liver. We in the studio with Rob. Come let the heat rock simmer.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of In the Studio with Rob. I am Rob, and I have in the studio with me, as always,
Except for that one time.
Except for that one time.
Year.
But he is back. He is back.
I am back and better than ever.
And so we're going to try to get down a little bit with you guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about community.
First off, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, man.
You look good.
How you doing?
I'm doing
all right.
great.
You look good.
Feeling good, feeling great. Thank you.
Good. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, he look good. Y'all don't know that he look good, but he does look good.
Just take his word for it.
Yeah, because he look like me.
He wears glasses.
He look good. And so everything's good. He look good. I look good. We all look good.
We look good.
And you people may look good. I can't vouch for y'all, though.
If y'all say y'all look good, we believe y'all too.
That's right. We just going to roll with that. But anyway, as we get going here, we're going to talk a little bit about the community. We're going to talk about black community, a little bit about white community, just a little bit, Hispanic community. But most importantly, we're going to wrap it all together talking about the American community. And the title, as we kind of looking at this, is
The Evolution of the American Community.
The evolution. And so when we talk about the evolution of the community, we're going to start and we're going to talk a lot about the black community because that's where we from. That's where, I grew up in black communities, So that's where I'm going to start from. And we're going to talk a little bit about how other communities have influenced or even we've influenced those other communities as well. So we're going to talk about that as well. So one of the things when we talk about, and I'll speak for myself as, when I was young. So I grew up in a black community, all black.
What?
I didn't grow up around any white people. Wasn't any white people living in my neighborhood. I didn't go to school, I think, until high school, where I went to school with a few white people that went to our school, and I don't even know who they were. I couldn't even name one if you showed me pictures from back then. But I'll be honest, I don't remember a lot of people that went to school.
I was about to say, if I showed you a picture of many people from your school.
So whether they were black or white, if we weren't that close, I probably don't remember them. That's just me. But anyway, I didn't grow up with white people that I hung out with and played with and all that stuff like a lot of people. I grew up in black community. We were, I was around black people. And so with that, there was I think, always, a little different dynamic when, I think of comfort that I had growing up that a lot of people, maybe even black people and white people, as far as Hispanics too, that may not, because you may have been in more integrated communities. So you have to adjust a little bit more here and there. Now, don't get me wrong. We went to this mall or different places like that. You're around white people, and so I had experience dealing with white people, but to be honest, I don't remember ever seeing. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. I don't remember ever being around a Asian. I can't remember, and maybe somebody was mixed and I didn't know, but I don't remember any Hispanics growing up. I'm talking about as a child in the 70s and or 80s. So really mine was white and black. That's really all I knew. But my real experiences was always the black community. And what we did and didn't do, or how things were affected, things I did affected my community. Even when I lived in Philly for a while, and I lived in, DC for a while, it was always around black community. So, one of the things I always loved about Philly, though, within their black community and in their community, they had block parties. cleanup parties, so they set the block down. People may be out barbecuing, grilling, kids out playing in the street, or it may be a cleanup day where they shut the block down, everybody cleaning up the block. So that was a cool way to build that community and making sure the community stayed tight and people out talking to each other, having a good time. Now, one of the things, like growing up down south, I grew up in an apartment. So again, wouldn't necessarily, coming out cleaning up, but you come out and sweep off the porch, and that's about all we had. But we were taught down there, you don't throw stuff on the ground, you pick it up. So it wasn't a lot of trash all over the place anyway. We kept it clean. So with that, we had a understanding of how we want to keep our community, how our community was going to be. And I think what happens over time, and one of the things that I've seen is that because we had this desire as people get older and get more money, get things, you have the desire to leave your community. And other people, if the community is thriving, come into your community. So communities changed over the years. And so one of the things you will see now is that across the country, there's always neighborhoods that are black or white, that are Hispanic, or there are those singular neighborhoods, of course, but most neighborhoods are integrated. And with that comes a lot more challenges, not just for that integrated neighborhood, but more importantly for the neighborhood that we left, meaning the black neighborhood, or for white people that all lived in a white neighborhood and they all left and moved into the suburbs and got their integrated neighborhood. What happens to that community? How does it evolve or not? That neighborhood that you left, that community that you left, and you went to bigger, better things, so to speak. And so now the school systems are not what they used to be. The environment itself is not as safe as it used to be. And unfortunately, a lot of that has to do with because you left. I left. Good people leave and don't invest in the place I came from. Then the place I came from don't have the same, starts to lose some of the value that it had. So when I leave or you leave your community, do you reach back to give to that community? And I ain't talking about just financial, but also your time. Do you go to the rec center where the kids playing and coach, so you can inspire the next generation? Do you do you buy in that neighborhood so that money can circulate within that neighborhood? The answer is probably no in most cases. I know for me, when I was big, I like to coach, and I've coached kids in West Philly, and I've coached kids in Woodbridge, Virginia, where I've lived. I've coached kids in Washington, so I've been different places, and I've always tried to get involved with the neighborhood that I lived in. But the neighborhood I left, I never really thought to reach back to. And that's, that's the knock on me. That's my fault. Again, it's like, okay, so how do we do that? Or how should we do it? Or should we even do it? I don't live it anymore. Is it my responsibility? I would say, personally, yes. And I'm saying yes now because I'm growing and I'm kind of maturing in my thinking, and I'm thinking that just because I don't live in a certain community doesn't mean that community don't need my help. They don't need my support. They don't need some of the things I've learned from living in other communities. So now, how do you get involved? That's a whole nother issue, and how we, some people may have to, be able to tell me even more of how do you get back involved into a neighborhood you don't live, or especially, some cases it may be a little bit more difficult if you left the state or you left you left the country in certain cases. But if you still live in that city and you just move to another part of that city, so-called better part, or a part where, it's a little bit more, upscale, so to speak, or schools are a little better for your kids, whatever, for whatever reason you move, how do you reach back? Why should you reach back? And if you should or you shouldn't reach back, then how should you feel when that community falls or doesn't grow or doesn't have the things that it needs for the next generation of you coming out of it to be able to come out of it?
The people have been analyzing.
People analyzing now. They're not just talking, they analyzing.
They have been analyzing and they have questions.
Go ahead, people.
So keeping things
Hold it.
Oh,
Because I'm telling the people to go ahead. Because y'all know one thing I am is a man of the people.
Indeed you are, sir.
So people, talk to me.
So keeping things like gentrification in mind, which would happen in a place like you were describing in Colombia, where that would be one of the first things we do. We would probably want to take over an apartment building.
Right.
You build that up, renovate it, or tear it down, put something else there, more lucrative, more high end. That would displace the community. The people that were in the community previously, that you grew up with in that community. There's also what you were mentioning about yourself, that there's people like you where you left and made a living. Other people like you either left and made a living as well, or they stayed and became some of those displaced, gentrified victims.
Right.
In those instances, wouldn't that contribute to that loss of community?
Yes. It would. And I'll give an example. In Colombia, we had some projects that were called Saxon homes. And actually my dad lived in Saxon home when he was a kid. That's how far back it goes, back in the 50s or whatever, when he was there in early 50s. So, but anyway, that was there through my childhood as well. And then when I became an adult, and I left, but I went home and found out, they tore those apartments down. So there was a lot of people that lived in their generations, people that lived there that had to, and they rebuilt some houses and, tried to make it nice. But a lot of those people were displaced, and some of them were able to buy back and to get a home. And again, it looks nice, but I don't know if the community that was Saxon Home, that community, that neighborhood, those people would ever be the same, because again, you get dispersed, you get, even while they had to put you out while they rebuilt and you was able to go back in there. Now you're back in there with people you didn't necessarily know, you didn't grow with, you didn't, hurt with, you didn't cry with, you didn't, all these things that you did with these other people. Now you're in here with people, some of them don't look like you no more.
Or people that were probably there probably can't even afford to live there no more.
Right. And so you in there now with people a little different upscale, some people with different things. So that changes your community altogether. So now you can't necessarily, if I say, I'm going to go back and help the people in Sacramento, I can't do that. They ain't there no more. But there is an opportunity for me to help people in maybe not that neighborhood per se, but there are other neighborhoods, that maybe I should have or could have gone back to and help. Like I said, I lived in West Philly for a while. I lived in, East Oak Lane. So with those communities are those areas that, that I've lived in for periods of time. I lived in Philadelphia for 15 years. So, if that's an area, that I needed to go back to help out with and to help grow. Even though, and there is gentrification there going on at, again, all over the city and different things. So again, idea that the neighborhood is the same as when I left it is probably not true. But in some cases, is it more important for me to be helping the neighborhood or helping people? So do I have to look at it like, okay, the neighborhood is no longer what it was, but my people still need my help. So then I need to help my people more than the neighborhood or the community, because the community is not the same, but the people that make up a community need my help. So how do so that's where you kind of come with, okay, don't get so caught up into my house that I grew up in or the apartment that I grew up in is no longer there, versus the people that need me are still there or still out here somewhere, and I need to find them and help them. So I think, when we talk about the community, and again, our community, and I'm talking about the Black community right now, is rich in a culture and with people that's coming out that's giving you music and, dance and acting and all these great things, invention and throughout the years. And other cultures have stolen some information or stolen a lot of information, stolen different ideas, stolen, dance moves, songs, everything else. And so if we don't protect or invest in not only what we had, but what we will have in the future, then who will? And I think it's not just, I think a lot of times we get caught up listening to the so-called, people that really made it. And you're talking about like, actors or athletes or people that make millions of dollars, that they're so far removed from the struggle of real life. So even if they come back and they can give you a few dollars, which is cool, are they really investing their time into a neighborhood to really help people to see that there is something different? Our schools are crumbling. And so am I to go into the school system and talk or give to the school system? Or am I to try to hope that I can speak to parents about how they're dealing with their children, so when their children go to school, they act appropriately so they can be taught? Because you have great teachers. I got great teachers in my family, nieces that are teaching that, and vice principals and all that good stuff. So they're in there doing the work, but they shouldn't have to fight with the parents for the child to pay attention or to sit still. So these are parent issues that affect the school system. And then people like me who don't have any children in school systems anymore is looking like, well, what is going on here? But how do you help? Only way I can help now, the way I see it, in my view, is I'm going to speak to parents and tell them, you need to discipline your children. Teach your child how to sit down before he or she goes to school so that they're not a problem in school. Help your child learn to count and read and do things at home so that when they go to school, they're excelling and they don't feel the pressure of, I don't know how to do this. And now they upset because they didn't know how to read. And so now they causing problems in school. So those are parent issues, things that we need to do. Me as a grandfather now, it's like, my son, my daughter, y'all got kids. Help your kid learn to read before he or she go to school. Let them start off with the upper hand in class so they don't feel frustrated and feel like, oh, I'm the kid they're going to laugh at. Because we talk about, they got all the bullying and all the other things that happen. But yet, if your kid is confident and that's something you're going to give them, and even the community can give them, then they'll do better in school. If they know that the community is watching and cheering for them, they will do better in school. So our communities may be changing in the dynamics, but at the same time, the core of any community is family. And that means if it's mom and dad.
Bars.
Who?
Said bars.
Well, if it's mom and dad, great. If it's mom with the child great, do your job. If it's dad with the child, great, do the job. You can't make excuses because somebody isn't there. You do your job. Whoever is involved in that child's life, do your job. Demand that your child exceeds in life, that he or she is going to reach for to be the best. They're going to try to be the best. Don't just assume that, the school system is going to do it. The community needs to be involved. Community nights. Let's say you got what happened to, a block party? What happened to, get out and clean up the street? What happened to those things? What happened to it is people afraid to come out at night because, again, it goes back to the family. You wouldn't be afraid to come out and sit on your porch and listen to music with your neighbors if your child wasn't out here acting like a fool with his or her friends. So before you go out there and sit on the porch, you got to make sure your children acting like they got some sense or they're taught to do the right thing. And that you check up on your children. And that you're not offended when your neighbor tell you your child out here acting like he or she don't have no sense. See, a neighbor could call my mom from the other side of town and be like, yo, your son on the way home, he been over here acting foolish. And by the time I get there, my mom's standing in the door. And I knew at that point, I can't go nowhere. I got to act like I got sense all the time. But that's what communities do. That's what we do. My mom wasn't upset when a teacher called a house. She didn't get up mad at the teacher. She got mad at me. I was the problem. The teacher wasn't the problem.
Yeah, I remember when I used to be clowning in school, and especially you remember Ms. Good and them. I used to be clowning in school, and he said, I have your damn number. All right, you doing all that? I'm gonna chill. Why y'all bring my dad into it? All right, you doing too much.
That's right. I mean, but that's how it should be. The teacher shouldn't feel afraid to call home, because the teachers are part of that community. So, and your child is in their possession or, in their care for 8 hours or more, whatever it is. And so why would they be afraid to say, okay, we already said, like when I went to school, the teacher could paddle you. So that they ain't have to call home as much because they bend you over a chair and hit you. But that don't happen anymore. So at least give the teachers the respect they are due when they call
Wait,
home.
you used to get beat in school?
Oh, yeah, I got a few.
You cried?
Nah, because you can't cry, man. I was in middle school. You can't cry.
They did it in front of class?
No. You just can't. No, because they going to let people know you cry.
But I'm saying, did they do it in front of the class?
No.
It was private?
It was like you and the guy, maybe whoever else is going to get beat. So
wait, so it was the dude that his job was to specifically
No, I mean, he was a teacher.
It was whoever.
It was only two
to
teachers that really hit you. It was unless you went to the principal's office.
So anybody could do it? I mean, any of the teachers could do it?
I don't know if they could or they just
did it. That's what I mean. So anybody had the authority to, though.
I think they all had the authority, I think.
Only a couple of them was willing.
Yeah, but nobody questioned it, so I don't know if they had the authority or not. They probably whoever
was going to do it. Like, really, y'all wasn't allowed to. They just did it.
Yeah, I don't know if they had authority or not. I just know they did it. And they bend you over that chair.
Wait, so the teachers would have told that you cried?
I think they would, yeah.
Dang.
I mean, it would get out.
You know we cried.
So now I'm just but people could hear you yell though, because when they hit you, you're gonna yell. But anyway, but like I said, there was at that point, nobody's gonna come up to the school and fight the teacher for that, because they knew he or she was just checking you. They're gonna put you back in line. There wasn't abuse. It wasn't, people say, oh, he abused you because he hit me. I ain't abused because somebody hit me on my butt with a paddle. But anyway, I think we have to understand that teachers are a part of the community as well. And so we have to invest in them and the relationships we build with them so that our children can benefit. This is still all about your children benefiting from this. So if the teacher called me, look, I got calls at work. I got calls as soon as we got home or whatever. They going to call me and say, hey, your son acting up. He did this, he did that. Some of the stuff, when we moved to Virginia, I got a younger son. I got called the first couple of weeks for some stuff, I'm like, yo, this kind of stuff they don't call you for in Philly, but down there they would call you. He was with the wrong person. That he didn't do it, but he was with the wrong person who did something. Like, why are you calling me then? Call their parents. So, but but they wanted you to know everything that was going on, which was cool because now I can go talk to my son and prevent him from doing something stupid or letting him know, yo, this ain't. You might want to check your friends, bro. You might want to pay attention because if you slip up and go over that line, now you're dealing with me. So the teacher can always understand that, yeah, his parents, they got our back. They supporting us. We need that now in these communities. We need that now in these school systems. So don't just allow the school system to do everything. When your child comes home, it's not wrong with sending your child outside to pick up the trash in front of your house. I don't care if they put it there. Get some gloves on. I got a son sitting next to me right now that even when he washed dishes, he had to put gloves on when he cleaned the kitchen.
All right, but nobody wants their hands to be all pruny for no reason if you can prevent it.
So he had to put gloves on. So I get that. So put the gloves on, go outside and pick up the trash. If that's what you need to do, whatever you need to. But again, I'm not only teaching you to clean up but the value of our neighborhood, this is our house. I want you to respect it. And then when you see somebody walking down the street and they just toss something, you be like, yo, man, pick that up. Throwing stuff in front of my house. And if they do it, the next neighbor do it, eventually your neighborhood is a little bit cleaner. But these are things that we have to get back to within our community. If the white community wants to do things that we do in our culture, let those things be positive things that they see. If you want to take something from me, take protecting your kids. Take disciplining your kids. Take that information that I'm doing and use that. We have our communities have changed so much because of, we got, now it's not just all black communities. It's a black community. I mean, it's black, it's Hispanics, it's Asians, it's white. We all in there together. But I don't know none of y'all. Why don't we know each other? If we living on the same block, I know the person that live next door to me because I see them and I say hi when I go in the house. That's as much as I know about them. But we can't build a community like that. You got to take that extra step and spend some time with people. It's okay. And again, right now it's freezing outside. When it warm up, throw something on the grill and invite your neighbors over. If you can't grill, buy something. I don't recommend everybody eating everybody's food, but at least if it's outside, you can all see where it's coming from. But again, but you got to build those communities, build up that community so that now we don't need politicians telling us about how bad something is to get a vote or scaring us into thinking our neighbor, whether it's a Hispanic neighbor, African neighbor, his Islamic neighbor, a white neighbor, a black neighbor. We don't need them scaring us, telling us that those people are our enemies, because I already know them. So if I know my white neighbor, I ain't worried about him or her burning a cross in my yard, because they cool. We talk all the time. If I know my Hispanic neighbors, I'm not listening to the government telling me all of my gang and raping people and doing crazy. I don't listen to that nonsense because I know them. The problem is we don't know anybody anymore because our communities are falling apart where we don't spend time and talk to each other anymore. So we allow the politicians and the pundits on TV to dictate what my neighborhood look like when they ain't never even been to my neighborhood. I don't need somebody on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC telling me what's going on in my neighborhood when y'all don't even come to my neighborhood. Don't tell me my neighbors aren't good when you don't come there. You don't live in my neighborhood. You can't tell me about my neighbors. But that's how we take back our communities. We have to invest in our neighbors and speaking to our neighbors, talking to our neighbors, not just become so isolated because of the internet, because of all the things we got, all these channels on TV. look, there ain't no reason to go outside no more. So you isolate yourself and you just scared. As opposed to you going outside, sitting on the porch, seeing your neighbors, speaking to them when they coming in and out, having a little quick conversation. I ain't saying you gotta get all up in their business, but talk to them. Just say hello. Let them know that you here. Let them know, hey, if somebody drop a package off at your house, I got you. If they, I'll pick it up, make sure you get it, so nothing happened to it. That's just being nice to people. So, but you would never do that if you didn't even know your neighbor, or your neighbor wouldn't feel comfortable with you doing it if you never talked to them. So again, those are ways we build our community, we build our neighborhood, we build up, when we build up the community, we building up our children. I'm looking out for your child, you looking out for mine.
Boost and accountability. Everything that you've kind of been saying is kind of showing a huge correlation between community and accountability, whether that's that they're the same thing, or that as community, or the importance of community has dwindled, so has accountability. So yeah, both have gone down at the same time, or together, or one because of the other, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, and again, I think, you can't have a thriving community without accountability. However, and which one declines first?
And without accountability, without community, there's less people to hold you accountable.
Right. I have no desire to be accountable to people I don't know.
Right.
So it's almost like if I become more of a communal person, I will feel more accountable for them. I'm going to watch to make sure the little kids playing in the street are safe. And if cars are racing up and down my street, I'm going to make sure I notify somebody to put some speed bumps out there so they can slow them down, because we got our kids out here playing. I'm going to notice, because I know my neighborhood, when strangers are in my neighborhood, to protect our children, to protect our homes. I'm going to pay attention to those things. Because if my neighbor's child is a knucklehead, I'm going to let him or her know I know their mama or their daddy, and I will be talking to them so that they can get them in line. And because we are already being communal and being friendly with one another, when I tell that neighbor that his or her child is acting in a certain way that's not becoming to their family, they're not going to cuss me out and act like a fool. They're going to be like, yo, thanks for telling me. I'll deal with them.
And if I don't feel like I have a sense of community with you, I'm less likely to have a desire to hold you accountable for things that may be on a smaller scale, but that may be helpful for me to hold you accountable before things become bigger. Right. If I'm helping you with your child when he's doing knuckleheaded things at 8, then that may help you keep him out of jail when he's 16.
Right. And see, one of the things that my mom used to tell me, I miss my mom. But one of the things she used to tell me,
hey, grandma.
Don't go to jail because I can't afford to get you out. so that kind of, it was like, yo, let me know. Like, she ain't coming here. And maybe she would have figured out a way, I don't know. But luckily, she ain't never have to worry about that.
And then fast forward to you, who could afford to get us out, because you definitely never said, I can't afford to get you out. You said, I ain't visiting nobody in jail. I ain't visiting leaving you in there, and I ain't visiting.
And the reason why I say that, because I think visiting somebody in jail is so degrading for the person that has to go visit them. Mm-hmm. They gotta basically strip search you to go visit somebody. Like, I ain't do nothing wrong. I gotta go through all this because he or she acting like a fool. So anyway, that's another story. But at the same time, this is what I want people to know. If you know your neighbors, if you get to know your neighbors, and maybe you have a single mother that's dealing with a son that's little, and you a guy on the block, why don't you do something for the block, for the neighbors? Why don't you try to, say, I'm going to take the boys and, out back and play football with them, or teach them how to shoot basketball, or whatever. Or just teach them all to read. I don't know. Whatever your expertise is, then you give that back to your community. Give it back to your community. If I know how, if I'm a school teacher, then I can do even more for my neighborhood. The kids on my block, the kids in my neighborhood that I know, that maybe I can reach them in a way that their teacher can't, because I already have teaching skills, but I also know how to reach them because I know them. I don't know how to maybe not be a teacher, but maybe I teach basketball and I can show the kids how to play basketball, to keep them out of trouble, to show them that somebody else cares about them. Maybe I'm a math whiz and I could teach them how to calculate and do all this stuff. Whatever your talent is, give it back to your community. Give it back to the kids. Give it back to the people in your neighborhood. And then watch your community begin to thrive again. Watch your community, even though it's changed in the dynamic of what it looked like, meaning the people may not all look like you anymore, doesn't mean that it can't thrive in a way that's more healthy for everybody in the community. So as we move forward, we got to start looking at the community and looking at it not the way the news or the pundits want us to see it, but the way we see it because we're involved in it. So stop, isolating yourself. Stop just, sitting in the house and talking on the phone or, FaceTiming people, but get outside and see your neighbor.
Ideas are okay, but don't limit yourself to ideas. You have to get out and make sure, you have to get out and confirm or disprove those ideas. Like, see if they're true or not.
Right. I mean, because again, most of the people that's going to talk about your neighborhood haven't even been in your neighborhood. So they're going by some statistics that may or may not be true. I don't know. It may be. But again, even if they are true, don't mean I can't change them by my presence. So if kids are hanging out on the block, I can hang out on the block too. So now they're not as comfortable doing some of the things they were doing because now they have adults that they know and that they can respect, they know will also talk to their parents. They got to disperse that.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with hanging on the block.
Right. So again, I hung on the block.
Me too.
We sat on the block all the time because it wasn't, it's like, where we going? We're going to sit on the block, talk. We just playing sports or whatever. We sitting outside. Nothing wrong with that. But again, it's also nothing wrong with adults coming out and talking to you while you're out there.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free. Go see where their head is at. Maybe that one kid that's sitting out there with the group, maybe you go out there and you give them some enlightenment that's going to uplift their life. You never know, but you would, if the only thing you got is fear of young people, you're in a bad place. Because you can't be afraid of our kids. Don't be afraid of our kids. They're not bad people. They just need adults to invest in them. So don't be afraid to talk to them. Don't be afraid to show them some love. Don't be afraid to tell them when they're wrong. But
it's important to tell them when they're right.
Give them those different things that's gonna lift them up. Give them the things that's gonna say, yo, you can be better than this. Hey, I see you out here smoking that stuff, boy. You too young for that. Messing up your brain. You too smart. You can do this. When you get of age, you want to drink, you want to smoke, that's on you. Right now, you ain't of age. I will let your mama know. I will let your daddy know. Right, it's okay. But it's also okay to come out there when they all hanging around with nothing to do and throw out a basketball and say, yo, what y'all, come to the park with me. Or grab a football and say, let's play some catch. Grab a baseball or whatever, frisbee. When I grew up, we did everything. We played frisbee football. We played baseball. We played, kickball. We did everything outside because it wasn't nothing to do in the house anyway. So everything was outside. But now everybody is so isolated. And we did have some old heads that have come out and play with you a little bit or talk junk. And that was cool. So like I said, the community, it has evolved. It's changing every day. Society, the way society is today changes our community. Technology changes our communities. But don't let that stop us from being communal. Invest in your people, invest in your children in those neighborhoods that you live in. And if you have to reach back to a community that you've gone from that needs your help, don't be afraid to help them as well. So I hope you all got something out of this. I felt, it's interesting because when I started this conversation, I was kind of struggling with where we was going, and as me and Israel was talking, we went in a lot of different directions, but I felt as it got going, I really felt comfortable. So I hope you guys got out of it as much as I felt like I did.
I was actually thinking while you were talking, and I was going to tell you after the pod, but I mean, you pretty much brought it up now. But I actually like the direction you went during the podcast. I don't know, you dropped a couple bars. I thought I was power LL Cool J for a second. I hear you.
So again, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We're going to get at you again soon. So, again, as always,
like and subscribe.
And share with a friend.
Please.
Yeah, make sure you share with some people, man. Don't keep it to yourself. And go out there and be communal.
Please. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend and tell a friend. All right? Be good, and we will talk to you later.
Gotta go. Bye.
In the studio, we in the studio. We rob in the studio, in the studio, in the studio. Catch a vibe in the studio, in the studio. We in the studio. We rob in the studio, in the studio. We in the studio. Catch a vibe. Yeah, I'm in the studio with Rob. I need to make the heat flicker. His alone and only thing can make a Rico beat sicker. So listen and get your wisdom. Gemstones on your head. Good with the OG like Flintstones. Good in bed. Been living a long time and he got something to say. Depending on how you feeling, dog, you might got something to pray. This type of influence that you ain't got to filter through your liver. We in the studio with Rob. Come let the heat rock simmer.